What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update. Quite a bit to talk about today, and we're going to start off with Tottenham are advertising to hire a professional psychologist on LinkedIn to support their players and improve the mentality of their team. I mean, I would say this probably should have been done a long time ago, to be fair.
Definitely. I know if anyone has seen Dear England, you would have seen that was obviously one of the major things Gareth Southgate brought in that really affected the psychology of the players and got them playing more as a team. Everyone knows that the England team before Southgate were very fractured, very cliquey. Everyone was stuck within their own clubs in the international setup, and the psychology actually changed a lot, and also to strip that fear away from the players and change their mentality from penalty shootouts, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, I'm assuming Tottenham have had psychologists before. I don't know. Obviously, I'm just assuming. I'm hoping it's nothing new, because that should be something that definitely this team, or this club at the very least, needs. Because as De Zerbi's been saying time and time again, the number one issue is the mentality. It's in the head at the moment. That's the number one thing. The weight, the pressure of relegation is weighing very heavy, I think, on the club and these players especially. So I think a psychologist could definitely work wonders.
I think it's not even just about Spurs and the relegation battle. Like, we've had a mentality problem for as long as I can remember. Obviously, there's been a few moments in time where it looked like we could have potentially overcome it, or we were overcoming it. The time under Pochettino, it looked like Spurs were going in the right direction. But even under Pochettino, there was still that mentality issue where we were just struggling to get over the line. Obviously, we won the Europa League final last year, which we hadn't, got over the line in many, many years. But this club has had this kind of problem for a long time, a long, long time. No matter how many people have come in, managers, players, it always has seemed to be a similar problem at this football club. And this is very much needed. Going to LinkedIn, once again, Spurs, to advertise their vacancies.
Maybe Rossini will apply. But look, I hope they find someone, and I hope they find something that's right for the club and the players. We know, Ange was very big on, mentality, wasn't he? And he was very big at, talking to the players in a certain way to get more out of them. I think Frank was very much more about just tactics and, off the ball kind of stuff, and that was very focused on, was much more about motivation and getting into the players kind of. I think De Zerbi very much he tries to find that extra percent, doesn't he, in how he talks to them, and he tries to get in that psychology. But I think definitely a psychologist would definitely help, I think, in this situation especially. Yeah,
it's true. Next up, we're going to talk more about Sebastian Kehl, as Jay Harris and David Ornstein together have given an update very similar to the one that Florian Plettenberg gave yesterday, saying that he is the leading contender to be the co-sporting director alongside Johan Lange. No formal offer has been made to Kehl yet, and for now he remains undecided on his next step. Sources close to Kehl have said he remains unsure about an immediate return to football. Why are they so hell-bent on keeping Johan Lange at the club? What does he have? What does he have over this ownership? What does he have?
Dirty little secrets.
Jesus, man.
I've got no idea, because I don't know how he keeps surviving every single kind of restructuring of the club. Johan Lange is still there. To be fair, he hasn't exactly been there that long, but it seems as though things have gone so much worse ever since he's come into the club and the decisions he's made. Look, we've been on record. Johan Lange, very happy to see him leave the club, and he should not be anywhere near the sporting director or in charge of any sort of decision making in terms of the direction the football club is going in. He shouldn't be anywhere near that. In terms of Sebastian Kehl, we spoke about him yesterday. Essentially, the story is the same of what we heard from Plettenberg, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not too different. We have our reservations, I think it's fair to say. I don't know if Sebastian Kehl is the right fit, or not even the fit. Is he good enough quality to get us kind of progressing? The Dortmund club and fans seem pretty happy that he left and didn't think he was doing a fantastic job. From a lot of people online, it seems as though they're not too excited about him. He does have some decent signings on his resume when he was at Dortmund, and obviously he is a player who was quite good when in his playing days, wasn't he? And he did perform at quite a good level, and he's I think international level. He had a few caps as well, so he knows how to play at the highest level on that front. But in terms of being a sporting director, I I think the jury's very much out.
Yeah, the thing is with sporting directors, though, like sometimes you can have a sporting director in and you think they're doing a bad job, and then a few years down the line you're thinking, oh, you know, he's actually done quite a decent job. And also you need the right manager in at the time to get the best out of the players that you know, there's so many moving parts to being a good sporting director, or the perception of a good sporting director. And I remember, like, when Damien Comoli was here, I remember we were giving him pelters when he was here, you know, the signings, and he ended up signing like some of the best players the club has ever seen.
It's true. And he said that as well. He said that they didn't realise what the job I was doing until Bale turned out how good he was, and a few of the other players, Modric. So it's true. And also, in terms of his experience, I know a lot of people saying online he doesn't have experience at the Premier League level and stuff like that, but he does have experience at a club like Dortmund, who do play football in a certain way, like consistently. Doesn't matter what manager they have, they usually have a through line of a manager or a way of playing which is front-footed, attacking football, taking the game to the opposition, giving young players a chance. So he has experience in that kind of field. So from that point of view, I think there's maybe a fit there, but in terms of his actual quality, talent ID, all that kind of stuff, how good it is, I don't know.
Yeah, the Spurs Army on X have done a post kind of separating his transfers into hits, jury out, and misses. And in the hits, they've put Nico Schlotterbeck, 25 million, Karim Adeyemi, 30 million, Julian Ryerson, 5 million, Marcel Sabitzer, 19 million, Ian Matson and Jadon Sancho on loan, Waldemar Anton, 21 million, Sergio Garassi, 18 million, Daniel Svensson, 6.5 million. They've got juries out on Nicholas Sula, who they signed on a free, Alexander Meyer on a free, Duranville, 8.5, Felix Nemecha, 30 million, Fulkrig, 15 million, Basabeni, free, Jan Kuto, 30 million, Joe Bellingham, 33 million. And on the misses, they've put Sally Ozcan for 5 million, Sebastian Haller, Anthony Modeste, Lotka, Pascal Gross, Fabio Silva, and Aaron Ansmel. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. But it's interesting they said, like, he did try and get over the line Dean Hyson, Edson Alvarez, Ryan Cherky, and Ian Matson on a permanent. And I remember with Ryan Cherky, they would try to get him last summer, wasn't it? And before Man City got him, and the word coming out of Dortmund were, yeah, we can't trust his kind of mentality and those personal issues that, you know, a lot of clubs have reservations on.
And look how he's performing now. So clearly that was maybe a misjudgment, or they didn't back themselves to, you know, fix those issues. Obviously,
I feel like Man City were the only ones to actually go and take a punt on him. Like, everyone had those reservations, didn't they?
Yeah, and they had the foresight. That's called the quality of their recruitment, isn't it? Which has been top class for a while. Hyson's obviously done brilliantly for Bournemouth. Madrid hasn't gone that great at the moment, but so still young. Matson, he was brilliant in that run to the Champions League final. That's the only really spell that he's had that was that great, I felt.
He was only there for that season, wasn't he?
Yeah. And where is he now?
Villa.
Oh yeah, Villa. Doesn't really play that much, does he?
No, he's decent. He's decent, Matson. He's a good squad player for them.
Yeah, but they prefer Digne.
Yeah.
And Edson Alvarez was at West Ham, wasn't he? Was okay. Wasn't awful. Wasn't great. I don't know.
It says here as well, since he joined in 2022, Dortmund have had 7 different managers.
He'll fit right in.
Maybe he should take the Chelsea job, not our job.
We'll get Poch in mid-season next year.
All right, so that's Sebastian Kehl. Not great news on Destiny Udogie, as Jake Sanders and Tom Barkley says that Destiny Udogie is now a big doubt to face Wolves this weekend. Just a classic, isn't it? Destiny Udogie just can't keep him fit.
Yeah.
Every single time it looks like there's light in the end of the tunnel. Every single time he comes back, it's a game and he's done.
And we saw at the end of the game, he had a big ice pack strapped to him, didn't he? Destiny Udogie. I think he's so vital to how he played on the left. I think he was actually quite vital to how Xavi played against Brighton, because he was kind of giving us a bit of width on the
he
on the
stretches the pitch
side,
so well, doesn't he? Yeah.
Giving that little bit extra room, because I think Xavi, when he's isolated there, I think he can struggle to kind of, I mean, to be fair, for the goal he did all right, but in general, I feel like when he has that player overlapping on the left-hand side, making that little bit of space and also causing a little bit of indecision in the defender, that's where he can take advantage. When he's got loads of space to run into and he's just one-on-one the defender, I feel like the defender usually has the confidence and the pace to deal with that, because he's not the paciest player, so he needs someone on the outside. Now we know the likelihood is Jed Spence is going to come in for him, and we've seen the problem with Spence is he doesn't really go on the outside too much. He likes to cut inside because he doesn't trust his left foot. He's not much of an attacking threat when he plays on the left. So obviously we've played Sousa there during the season, but I don't know if De Zerbi hasn't had him in any of the squads, has he? Or has he? I don't think he was in the squad on
Was
the
he
weekend.
not on the bench?
I don't think so, off the top of my head. Might be wrong. I think against Sunderland he was, but I think off the top of my head he wasn't on the bench against Brighton. He hasn't played any minutes.
No, he wasn't in either squad.
So he hasn't had any minutes. Other than either squad, so that shows he doesn't trust him just yet. He would rather Spence. So that definitely is a problem if he is out, and also that is a worry if he's out for longer than that. It might be more than Wolves because, as I say, he had a big strapping of ice on his thigh, which has always been a problem for him. So let's just hope it's not too bad. I think he's quite an important player for us.
Yeah, it's the big question though. It's just like,
does he come up with something creative, De Zerbi, like he has done?
I think he'll
previous
put
jobs?
in Spence. I do think he'll put in Spence, but
What would be the creative option? We don't really have a left foot unless he puts. I was about to say Van de Ven, but he can't even do that because we don't have the centre backs.
well, unless you want to play Draghi.
Yeah, no. We don't have any other left
there's
footers,
no
do we?
creative options. You've
How
got to
many
put in
left footers do we
Spell.
have?
That's it.
Van de Ven and Udogie.
Yeah. Ben Davis is injured.
Ben Davis injured. Yeah, that would be it, wouldn't it? No, there's no midfielders we got left footed, is there?
No. Look, it will be Spence, in my opinion. Spence also came on for him in the game last week.
Yeah.
So, but it brings a wider question now about Udogie. It's just like we can't keep going through this every season with him. I know we've had a major injury problems with everyone for the past 2 years, but he is a consistent one that just keeps coming back, getting injured.
Well, to be fair, in his first season, he did play nearly 30 games. I think he played 30 games or 29 games, so it wasn't like horrendous. But then last season, we barely saw him for much of the season. And then this season, it's been a similar story, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's been a big problem. So is the problem him? Is the problem that we don't have someone to rotate him with? Is that the major problem?
To be fair, in that first season, it was 28 games.
28, yeah.
Last season was 25. So it's not too different. This season, it's 16.
It just seems to be a really crucial times. Maybe that's why it seems like a lot more. But to be fair, like, he hasn't hit 30 games yet, has he? And it always seems as though he comes back and then very quickly goes out
joining
again.
Tottenham, though, because in Udinese, he went 33 games a season before we signed him and 35 games a season before that.
And we know, I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were saying, oh, Solanke, we can't trust his fitness. I'm like, how have we got to this stage? Solanke was literally known as like the most robust player who played all 38 games before he joined us. And now we're saying we can't trust his fitness. Like he's some sort of, I know, but he has been injury prone since he's got here.
It's mad, isn't it? Because these players just have no like record of being injury prone. They come to Spurs, can't get him on the pitch.
Yeah.
It's madness.
Gallagher's going to be next.
Yeah, probably.
It's been nuts. And it does beg the question: are these players really just injury prone by nature, or is there something going on here? That's the question.
All of it seems too much to be a coincidence. It's definitely an us problem more than an actual player problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, surely that's what you'd surely think, considering their records before Tottenham and some even after. Look at Sessegnon.
Yeah,
he's been able to be playing consistently for Fulham. Yeah, we could barely get him on the pitch for us.
Yeah. Even Lamella, I think, was playing quite regularly after he joined us. It's madness. Anyway, let's talk about Micky van de Ven. There's two reports actually on Micky. One from Laurie Whithall of The Athletic saying that Van de Ven is a name being considered by Manchester United. Van de Ven is expected to attract interest regardless of what division Spurs are in, and his departure is potentially on the cards. Liverpool, however, have been interested in the past and could present competition for his signature. So too could many clubs in Europe. Ben Jacobs says that internally at Man United they have discussed Micky van de Ven, so we have to wait and see how it develops. Van de Ven hasn't agreed a new contract at Tottenham, and if Spurs go down, Van de Ven will almost certainly leave. However, if Spurs stay up, it's a slightly different situation, because then Cuti Romero is still likely to leave, and then Van de Ven, it may be a little hard to get him out of Tottenham, as Tottenham would throw the kitchen sink at him to sign a long-term contract. He also goes on to say that if Liverpool entered the race, Van de Ven would, without question, choose Liverpool over Manchester United.
Well, we know that Liverpool tried to sign him, didn't they? But when we signed him, we kind of beat them to it.
We know he had some affinity to Liverpool growing up as well.
He might be a Liverpool fan. Is he a boyhood Liverpool fan?
I think so, yeah.
So And also, I think Liverpool's obviously the most. It's a better project, probably. Well, Man United look like they could finish above them, but I do think it's a better project. Obviously, Van Dijk is not getting any younger. I think partnering Van Dijk and Van de Ven could be incredible, to be fair. And if he's got affinity with them, that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, Man United could definitely do with him. Maguire, are they going to ship him out? Lisandro Martinez.
They could both do with him. That's the reality.
Martinez has been in and out of fitness and suspension and whatever. Yoro's obviously young, but they could do with the CD centre back as well. Who's more likely to stump up the cash? Obviously, Liverpool have spent big money last summer. Man United have always got money available.
With Champions League now
Champions
as well.
League. They're both going to have Champions League, aren't they? Probably.
Yeah, but Man United going from no European football to Champions League, it's just so frustrating, isn't it? Because this time last year, playing Man United in the Europa League final, both of us sitting in the wrong end of the table, we win it, and they're going to end up taking one of our best players.
Think about back at Old Trafford last year, Van de Ven running the pitch and getting that assist. And then if I would have told you at the end of that game, after beating 3-0, Ten Hag was on the ropes and we were doing all right, that in a year's time he'd potentially go to Man United, I'd be like, no chance. And now here we are thinking about it's a very serious possibility, whether we stay up or not. So I really hope it doesn't happen. Obviously, I think Ben Jacobs might have a point. I think, and we've discussed it before, if we stay up and Romero leaves for decent money, and if our financial struggles are not, if the burden is a bit eased on us, maybe we would keep him, and maybe De Zerbi could get more out of him, and De Zerbi is obviously going to really like him, and maybe it's a case of if he does stay, he's not going to throw a strop because he actually likes the football De Zerbi plays, unlike before. So maybe there is a case we could still keep him, but I think I can definitely see him pushing for it.
Yeah, but look, we did see the best version of Van de Ven for a long time, didn't we? And it has come under De Zerbi, so maybe De Zerbi has got into him. But look, it all depends on how we finish the season, if we stay up or not. If we go down, there's no question about it, he's going to be leaving. If we stay up, Spurs are going to provide a pretty hard bargain, and I think we're going to price teams out of moves, to be honest, particularly if Romero leaves. So we'll see how it goes. It will take a massive offer if we stay up to get him out of the club. Last but not least, ITK on X, SZY, is claiming that Tottenham hold an interest in Nico Gonzalez of Man City, and if we stay up, he is going to be this year's Savinho.
Probably. To be fair, I mean, there have been a lot of question marks about Rodri, haven't there, about him recovering from the ACL. I even remember when we drew with them in, when was it, February or January, 2-2, and he had a brilliant first half and then completely fell off in the second half, and I saw a lot of videos saying, oh, Rodri, he's completely done at this level, like he no longer has the legs. And ever since then, I think especially you go back to the Arsenal game, he's really showing he's getting back to his best, isn't he? He was phenomenal in that game, I thought. So with Rodri getting back to his best, Nico might look at the situation thinking, how much of a role do I have to play? Because I think they signed him, obviously, last January. Rodri had the ACL. But I think he never really nailed down a spot, did he? There were points where he was looking like, I think Pep was calling him a little Rodri, and there were points where he was looking like a serious player. But then he kind of lost his way. Pep was even dropping him from some games, even when Rodri wasn't fit. And this season, you know, Rodri, since he's come back to full fitness, has been the main guy again. And I think Nico has found himself out in the cold. I think he's shown to be a good player, but I think he'll be a bit disappointed that he didn't get as much game time as he should have when Rodri was out, and didn't nail down the spot as well as he could have. Obviously, I think he's a good player, and I'll take him at Tottenham. I don't think he's I'm not really sure how good he actually is. I think he's probably better than what we have, and I think as a number 6 as well, we don't really have someone defensive-minded midfielder who's got the passing range probably he does. But yeah, I think the hype around him when he came, probably he hasn't lived up to that quite as much.
Yeah, definitely. He hasn't. But he's still a young player, 24 years of age, to play in that kind of role in the Premier League. You're young for that. Obviously, we've got players like Caicedo and Declan Rice and these guys who've done it from a young age and done it to a really high standard at a high level. But everyone kind of develops at different points in their career, and Nico Gonzalez as well, coming into a new league where Caicedo had the time at Brighton behind him. Rice, came through the ranks at West Ham, and Nico Gonzalez, what was his first year in the Premier League last season?
Mm-hmm.
So
in January he joined.
Yeah, well, there you go. So he hasn't had much time at all to kind of develop in that kind of way. And now Rodri's back, he's going to have even less time.
Well, he did, because Rodri was out with an ACL, so he had that time to develop, didn't he? And
Yeah,
he didn't
look,
really
he
nail down the spot.
Yeah, it's true, but you're still coming into a brand new league, brand new surroundings, brand new team. It's hard for someone just coming straight from the Spanish league and say, here, take Rodri's position. You've got to be an unbelievable player to do that.
Yeah, I just thought maybe we would see more from him. Because the fact that there were some games he was even being dropped for other players when he was like the only fit 6 was surprising.
And also, like in Pep Guardiola's system, like how many times have you seen under Pep, like they make a signing the first year they're not great, and then the second year they just burst into life and they're incredible.
It's true.
So I wouldn't put too much against him. Like obviously, if he doesn't flourish and doesn't develop over the next year and a half, question marks need to be had. But right now, I think it's a bit too harsh to judge him like that.
How much do you think he would go for if he was to?
How much they sign him for?
Was it 50? Something like 50, 60? It was quite expensive.
It depends how Man City value him. Do they see him as Rodri's successor? Do they see him as the future there in midfield? If they do, then they're going to want a pretty penny. If they don't, and they're happy to get rid of and want to kind of replace him, then maybe get their money back, something like that.
Or maybe he'll just stay. Yeah, we'll see. It's interesting.
However, just before we end, Ben Jacobs has just done an update on Sebastian Kehl, saying he is now in advanced talks to join Spurs as sporting director. He is the leading candidate. Appreciation for Udogie Friedman. However, his club believe he's going to stay in Saudi, and Paul Winstanley was approached by headhunters as part of the process. So apparently, Sebastian Kehl in advanced talks to join Tottenham now.
I do wonder whether he's kind of a choice we're making because we really believe in him, or he's just available and we're just going for someone who's available right now. We don't want to pay the money for Udogie Friedman, who's really our first choice. That's the feeling I get. Yeah,
it's probably our first choice is rejected, and we're going for someone further down on the list.
He's just been sacked. He's only available because would we get him if he wasn't just being sacked by Dortmund?
Probably not.
Doesn't bode well. I don't know. Something tells me I just feel a bit uneasy about it. But will he be? Most importantly, is he going to be doing the post transfer window videos now? No more Johan Lange. That's the most important thing.
He's working alongside Johan Lange.
I hope don't do it together. Just leave Johan.
They're going to be doing it together. He's going to be sat on the couch with his legs spread wide across the couch.
His feet up on Yang's lap.
Oh, God. Well, let us know how you feel about that in the comment section below. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.